Hello, friends, and welcome to my today's lecture, that is a brief note on William Shakespeare, part 2. In my part 1, or my earlier lecture, I had spoken about William Shakespeare as an English playwright, poet, and actor, widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's greatest dramatist, and that he is often called India's national poet and the Bard of Avon. I had also mentioned a few things about Shakespeare's early life, and that he was a prolific writer during both the Elizabethan and the Jacobean age of the British theatre, and his works, including his collaborations, consisted of some 39 plays, 154 sonnets, 2 long narrative poems, and a few other verses, some of uncertain authorships, and that his plays have been translated into every major language, living language, and are performed then more than any other writer's plays. I had also mentioned that Shakespeare's writings capture the range of human emotions and conflict and have been celebrated more than 400 years, but his own personal life is somewhat a mystery. And that we know about Shakespeare from 2 primary sources that provide the historians with an outline of his life. One is his own work, his plays, his poems, his sonnets, and the second primary source is the official documentation, such as the church and court records, though they are very less in number. And I had also mentioned that Shakespeare had attended the grammar school during the Elizabethan era, which varied in quality, but since the curricula of all grammar schools was nearly the same, and Latin text was taken as a standardized one, so anybody would have provided, any school would have provided an intensive education in grammar. And he lived with his family until the age of 18, till he married Annie Hathaway, at the age of 18. Now, Annie and Shakespeare got married on November 28, 1582 in Worcester in Canterbury province, and Shakespeare and Annie were blessed with 3 children: Susanna, their elder daughter, and twins, Hamnet and Judith, though later Hamnet died at the age of 11, and after the birth of their twins in 1585, nothing could be known about their whereabouts for nearly 7 years till 1592. Now, this period of 7 years has been termed as lost years by the scholars, and a lot of speculations have been made as to what Shakespeare must have been doing during those 7 years. And some speculate him to have gone into hiding for poaching game from the local landlord, Sir Thomas Lucy. And another possibility is that he might have been working as an assistant schoolmaster in Lancashire. In about 1592, Shakespeare became a managing partner in the Lord Chamberlain's Men, an acting company in London with which he was connected for most of his career. And this company's name changed to King's Men after the crowning of King James I in 1603. And this company was very popular in all ways. Although the theatre culture in the 16th century, High England was not highly admired by the people of high rank, but some of the nobility were good and even great patrons of the performing arts and friends of the actors. And even Shakespeare, at one point of time, earned his living as an actor and playwright in London, and possibly had several plays produced. During this time, in about 1592, his first printed works were published. There were two long poems, Venus and Adone, which was published in 1593, and The Rape of Lucrece, which was published in 1594, and which Shakespeare had dedicated to the Earl of Southampton. And while Shakespeare was associated with this King's Men, he produced average 2 plays a year for almost 20 years. And he wrote many of his famous tragedies, such as King Lear and Macbeth, as well as great romances like The Winter's Tale and The Tempest during this time. As far as his literary works are concerned, we find that no original manuscripts of his plays are known to exist today. It was from a group of actors from Shakespeare's company itself that we have half of the plays at all. Now, his writings after his death were brought together in First Folio, a collection which contained his plays but not his poetry. Now, from about 1590 to 1613, Shakespeare wrote about 39 plays revolving around several themes like histories, tragedies, comedies, and tragic comedies too. Leaving aside the tragic love story, Romeo and Juliet, his first plays were mostly histories, like Henry VI, the Part 1, 2, and 3, Richard II, and Henry V, which dramatize the destructive results of weak or the corrupt rulers. Julius Caesar also portrayed upheaval during Queen Elizabeth I's reign, and Shakespeare wrote several comedies during this early period, like the whimsical A Midsummer Night's Dream, the romantic Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, As You Like It, and Twelfth Night. His other plays before 1600 include Titus Andronicus, The Comedy of Errors, The Taming of the Shrew, Love's Labour Lost, King John, Henry V, to name a few. Among his works after 1600 were tragedies and tragicomedies. Tragedies like Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth, whose characters present vivid impressions of human temperament that are timeless and universal. And in his final period, Shakespeare wrote several tragic comedies like Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale, and The Tempest, which, though are graver in tone than the comedies, but they're not dark comedies, dark tragedies of King Lear, of Macbeth, because they and with reconciliation and forgiveness because they end with reconciliation and forgiveness. Now other plays of this period were All's Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, Timon of Athens, Coriolanus, Pericles, and Henry VII, to name a few. That's all for now. I'll be coming up with more lectures of mine. Till then, goodbye and thank you.